Just going to be candid. I'm 62 years old. I did think when I was in my mid 40s that I would be retired by now, and I am not. And life throws you curveballs, and it can be a real challenge to get through life. And the older you get, the harder it is in some ways, and the easier it is in others. So let me tell you why. It's harder because when you hit 50, it's a milestone. Like, oh my God, half my life is over. But do we all live to 100? So really more than half. It's more than midway through life, right? And each then you go 55. You don't go decades. You actually go now I'm 55. Now what? And then when you reach 60, and then it's almost every year you start to analyze yourself and analyze things a little more. Like, I have less and less time to do what I want to do. Life isn't over, but it does become more precious. You do think differently. So the easier side of that is that you don't care so much about what other people think. So you're willing to do things that you probably wouldn't have done in 30s. You're like, oh my God, like everybody's looking at me. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody really cares. And I'm not saying that people don't care about you, because they do. Your family, your friends, and people that know you, they care about you. But the general, what we think of is, what are people going to think? What is social media going to think of me? Because it's so prevalent now that you get attacked for an opinion, right? So what I'm saying is that the older you get, the less you care about that stuff. At least that's my experience. The older I get, the less I care about that thing. Because when you've been through a lot of loss, like I have myself, when you lose people that mean something to you, that are very close to you, and you lose a lot, you tend to really appreciate not just life, but small moments, small things. And you realize how fragile life can be. People can be taken away in an instant, right? And that's what I learned through that. I lost my brother Jim. I think I was 23 at the time. He was 35, married for 10 years, two young children. I always get this wrong, but I believe they were both under 5 at the time. And that was a really traumatic experience for the entire family. Like, we all were, this doesn't happen to us. This happens to other people, right? And it becomes so real that it actually feels like a dream. If I don't know if that will only make sense to people who have been through something so shocking, because it's like he was just here yesterday, now he's gone. Bizarre. So that really was a moment in my life where I felt I needed to make some changes, because the pain of a death like that is, especially when you're that young too, and I was living on my own at the time, didn't have anyone significant in my life other than family, of course. I was single, in other words. But I was thinking, this is so painful that I needed to make sense of it. And the only way that I could make sense of a loss like that was to make significant changes in my life. And I said, well, I'm not wasting time. So I cut off a lot of people in my life at that time. I went to extremes and really isolated myself, because that's just what I do. And I still do that to this day, because that's just part of my makeup and who I am. I'm very much of a loner. And I accept that now. Then I thought maybe I'm weird, but no, that's just who I am. So you have to learn to accept these things. And then I talk about this in depth in other videos, but I just wanted to pop on here because I am going to be making videos on YouTube. I might share these on other platforms, but I've been primarily on LinkedIn for the past 4 years. And prior to that, it was on Facebook, which is more of a social family and friends thing. So I hop in there and let them know I'm still alive because I live in Mexico. I've been in Mexico now for it'll be 29 years this year, at the end of this year. So, and because I'm a loner, I haven't been back to Canada since 2008. Yeah. But why would you leave such a beautiful place? I love Mexico. It's beautiful. I've lived here. It's my home. Es mi hogar. And So I just thought I'd pop on to YouTube and just say, hey, I'm going to be sharing here and there my life experiences as a 52-year-old now widow of I'm 9 years widowed. So the next passing that happened, I talk a lot about loss and trauma because it's a huge part of my life and why I do what I do now to help other people. My mom passed away of cancer in a few years after my brother died. So that was really devastating because that was her firstborn child. And she had lost another child before I was born. So basically lost two children in her lifetime, which is I think is the most traumatic death that anyone could experience. I will never know that pain because I've never been a parent other than a dog parent. But I know that once my brother passed away, it was like over for her. And so she got cancer soon after that, was in remission, and then ended up getting full-blown cancer again and passed in 1994. Now, I always talk about the gift of that. The gift of losing my mom of from cancer was that I got some closure. I didn't get that with my brother Jim. I was able to say goodbye to her. It was a huge gift because there's nothing you can do. When someone is dying, they're dying. There's nothing, you can't take things back. You can't change the trajectory of their life. You can't do anything other than to say, I love you. Is there anything that you want from us? And I was able to have the discussion with her. And that's when I found out the guilt she had from losing the first child and that whole story. That's a whole other story. I wrote about it on my blog. I will attach that to there, the secret she kept for 35 years if you want to go there, and how that devastation of keeping secrets also stays in your body. And and then after my mom passed away, I really didn't have a lot of reason to stay in Canada because she was the anchor and the glue to our family. And we've all had a strained relationship with our father, who happens to still be here. 1 month ago today, he turned 99, but he's in Canada. And so that's a whole other discussion that I will do for another day because we all have family baggage, right? It's one of the common threads that we all have. And so I met my husband in Canada, but we were together maybe for a year before we decided to move to Mexico. We wanted a fresh start. We didn't see any more opportunities for us in Canada, so we decided to move to Mexico. And it was the best decision we ever made. We have no regrets, even though we went through a lot of trauma here, but life is filled with trauma and loss. It's just the way it is. And you have to either roll with it or you die, right? We all handle stress differently and a lot of life lessons through loss and trauma, that's for sure. Now, 1997, we moved to Puerto Vallarta, and then in 2001, we moved here to Los Cabos. And we were doing really well for a while there. We had bought our first home in 2001, and then we sold in 2005, and we got double the price because that was the height. 2005 was just incredible it was like a seller's market at that time. And my husband happened to be in real estate at that point and was working for a complex. He says, we should buy there because so many people are buying here and we can afford it now because he was making such great money. So we ended up buying and we paid cash for that home. We ended up buying another investment property a couple of hours north of here with a partner. And we were just like living the life and traveling to San Diego. And we were traveling to San Diego. I know that sounds weird because we're not American, but you can drive up the coast or it's a 2 hour flight from here. Sometimes you need to get out of where you are and just go somewhere else. So that's what we did. We used to go to San Diego a few times a year, buy all the stuff that we wanted, our electronics, etc., bring them back down, and then enjoy the rest of our time here. Anyway, to make a long story short, I have another video about what grief and loss and what happened. We ended up losing our homes, and I talk about that in detail in that other video, and which I will also link down below. But we ended up loaning money in 2008, $90,000, with the expectation that we get back in a few months from another project the person was dealing with. And we really trusted his word, and we saw the paperwork on this project and believed. But it didn't come back in time. There was still this promise that it was going to happen. It's going to happen soon. So we decided stupidly to borrow against this cash paid home. A $500,000 we borrowed against this home because they trusted Daniel. And we held them off for many years. Let's put it that way. The deal never went through. We never got our money back. Still waiting to this day, if you really want to know. And in 2014, lawyers came knocking on our door and said, you need to get out. So on May 1st, we were homeless again. Not quite living on the street, but we moved into a neighbor's home, well, because they lived next door to us, just temporarily until we could find a rental property that we could afford. Renting for the first time after owning three places. The other place north with a partner we were able to sell, we broke even. So we didn't make any money on that. And just starting over again. And I was 50 years old at the time that happened. My husband was 63, so it was devastating. And we started renting. And the same year we moved to one place. It was a disaster. The outside looked nice, but the inside was a disaster. And we wanted to get out of the lease, and they said no. So luckily we only had a 3-month lease, thank God. And we moved out in September 13th, I believe. And September 14th, we were still in boxes. We were in this new house. It was all glass. It was a beautiful place. It was a friend of ours who had built it. And that evening, Category 4 hurricane came in and destroyed the entire town. We had no electricity for, I think it was just over 2 weeks. We were running out of food because all the supermarkets were raided. And of course, with no electricity anywhere, I'm talking anywhere in the city, all the lines were down. There were trees all over the roads. Nobody could travel anywhere. And we live at the end of the tip of the Baja. And we were living on, and I'm not kidding, sardines and crackers. And I thank God to this day for sardines because they don't go bad. They're in a container. So our dog, Daniel, and I were eating sardines. Lost 6 pounds in 6 days because we were just rationing as much as we could. We almost ran out of water. The owner of the house, thank God, had tons of garrafons at his other place and was able to bring us water because we were running out of that. No running water, of course, because there's no pump because there's no electricity. We were flushing toilets with the pool water. It was a lot. So that was our 2014. And then we decided, let's get out, let's go to San Diego just for like a few days to just get once the roads were fixed. So this was November. So 2 months later, we were able to drive up to San Diego with our dog and just breathe. And then of course, again, this is all in the other video, but I'll just give you the brief overview in case you don't want to go back to that. So we drove up there. The owner of the house calls us, says, "Hey, did you leave the sliding door open?" And we're going, "Absolutely not. We secure everything and we double check and triple check because it's a new house we didn't know. And we've always had security and there was no security in this house. But we felt a very safe area, obviously. But anyway, so the house was broken into. That's how they left through the sliding door, but they got in through the laundry room door. They ended up kicking in my closet, which had our safe in it. The safe was 50 kilos. There was obviously more than one person because it's 50 kilos. So they took the safe and they took whatever jewelry I didn't take with me to San Diego, and I didn't take a lot. So I went into full-blown menopause that moment, 50 years old. Just a lot of stress, and stress can do that to you. But so that was 2014. And then in 2016, Daniel started falling randomly. He started slurring, and it got worse and worse and worse. And he ended up passing away a year later. So 2017. So this year will be, what, 9 years? It's 2026. So it'll be 9 years this July since I had to start my life over. And I was 53 years old when I had to start my life over. So what I would love in the comments, if you can let me know what you want to know about starting over at 53. I'm now 62 years old, so it's again 9 years. I had no choice. I hadn't worked in 20 years because we were doing really well. I hadn't worked in 20 years. So I had to get a job. My very first job, I will tell you, I was making $3 an hour here because unless you're in timeshare or real estate, you get paid what the locals get paid, and that's what locals get paid. And I could barely afford food for that. And again, we'd lost everything a few years before, so I was running out of whatever we did have from people loaning us money here and there to help us out. A really sad, tragic time, really scary. So I know what it's like to not have a lot. There was a time also that I thought I was going to be living in my car. It was that scary with my dog. I'm wondering, I was thinking about where am I going to shower? What am I going to do? Am I going to be safe? Where should I park? I was really in that dark place along with grief. And I had moved 3 times in 18 months after Daniel passed away because people were helping me out. I was still paying them, but they were helping me out for a low price, but saying it was temporary because they had other people coming in. And so I had to just accommodate and moving from a 3 bedroom home to a room. So anyone that is in that place and wants me to talk about those things, I'm happy to share my experiences. But it all led me to where I am now. I do have my own business finally. Well, I started in 2018. I had a few jobs here and there. I started working online. I started doing things here and there, and happy to talk about that as well. And now I'm in the spiritual realm, which sits perfectly with me. And that's where the full circle moment comes, is not really caring anymore about what people think, because what I do, reading the Akashic Records, people will roll their eyes, some will be so interested. But when you stop caring, you start doing what you're supposed to do and what you're meant to do. Whether I do this for the rest of my life, I don't know. But I'm doing it now and it's working. If you follow who you are at soul level, which is what I found out through my readings, when you find out who you actually are and what you're here to do, you stop worrying about the rest of it because it doesn't mean anything. What means something is who you are, what you're meant for. And I write a lot about this on LinkedIn, and I started writing more blogs to be able to get all my ideas out there because there's only so much you can do in a post, right? There's only so much you can do in a video, then you lose people's attention, like this one, probably. But so I am going to sign off for now, and that is just an introduction into who I am and where I've been, and not sure where I'm going. Take care. Soul first, strategy second.